Hello everyone, this is Darko2012 from Global Government News, reading an article titled Online Poll Says More Than 70% of Americans Favor Invasion of Yemen. This is written by Kurt Nimmo from Infowars.com on January 4th, 2009, and basically talks about how these polls, just like before we went into Iraq and Afghanistan, how these polls come out on Fox, that basically say that the majority of Americans support an invasion. So this is, I think, kind of an important story because there has been a call for attacking Yemen or just occupying or bringing troops into Yemen. So it means it's coming up soon. And if there is a possible false flag attack on the U.S. Embassy in Yemen, which is just following this, it just almost seems like it's inevitable, so that we can have even more of a reason to go over there, besides just the underwear bomber, the Nigerian underwear bomber, saying that he had links to al-Qaeda in Yemen. They're just building it up. So all I'm doing is documenting all these little flags, these red flags that are being raised, pointing towards we're going to Yemen. So here we go. If we are to believe a recent poll posted on the Fox News website, more than 70% of Americans favor going into Yemen to get rid of al-Qaeda. With over 20,000 people taking part in the poll, 71% voted that the problem is not going away, and that troops need to be sent there to eliminate al-Qaeda and the threat it poses to national security. Fox News is infamous for providing propaganda for the neocons who engineered the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq. A poll on the Fox News website will naturally reflect the views of neocon followers who are conditioned to accept the idea that a manufactured terrorist threat must be countered with predator drone attacks and possibly direct U.S. military involvement in Yemen. The so-called liberal media will also play its part in any military action against al-Qaeda in Yemen. During the Bush invasion of Iraq, the New York Times and other supposedly liberal newspapers and media outlets ran blatant pro-invasion propaganda on a daily basis. Case in point, Times reporter Judith Miller, who eagerly ran neocon concocted stories about Iraqi metal tubes allegedly intended to be used to enrich nuclear material. Mr. Husseins' dogged insistence on pursuing his nuclear ambitions, along with what defectors described in interviews as Iraq's push to improve and expand Baghdad's chemical and biological arsenals, have brought Iraq and the U.S. to the brink of war, wrote Miller, who eventually retired from the newspaper as a result of her pro-invasion reporting. The invasion of Iraq was preceded by the most intense and deceptive propaganda campaign since the Second World War. Most of the propaganda came from the Project for a New American Century and a handful of neocon think tanks. PNAC pushed for the invasion of Iraq prior to Bush taking office. Bush and the neocons exploited Hitler's big lie tactic as they prepared for the invasion and mass murder. The neocons used repetition and misinformation to create the false impression that Iraq was behind the September 11th attacks, particularly in the case of the fairy tale meeting in Prague 5 months earlier between 9/11 hijacker Mohammed Atta and Iraq intelligence officials. The neocons deceived the American people into the absurd belief that Saddam Hussein posed a threat not only to the United States but the whole world. It did not matter that most of the claims made by the neocons and the government were patently absurd and illogical. The big lie tactic worked famously during the first invasion of Iraq by Bush's father. Recall the 15-year-old Kuwaiti girl named Nayara, who told the story of Iraqi soldiers dumping hundreds of premature Kuwaiti babies from their incubators and leaving them to die. It later came out that this disgusting bit of propaganda was invented by Citizens for a Free Kuwait, a PR front group created by Hill and Knowlton. In the lead up to the second invasion, the CIA hired the Rendon Group, a PR firm run by John Rendon, to conduct a covert anti-Saddam propaganda campaign. Rendon created the Iraqi National Congress and fed propaganda to Judith Miller, who basically served as a propaganda operative for the CIA. Like the invasion of Iraq, an invasion of Yemen is a done deal. On December 30th, it was reported that a plan is in place to attack the impoverished Arab country. The plan is part of a new classified agreement with the Yemeni government to use al-Qaeda as a pretext to establish a new front in the manufactured global war on terror. According to CNN, quote, by all accounts, the agreement would allow the U.S. to fly cruise missiles, fighter jets, or unmanned armed drones against targets in Yemen with the consent of that government. In the meantime, the CIA, through its Mockingbird assets and the corporate media, will manufacture consent, as it did in the lead up to the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Thank you everybody for checking out this article, and hopefully we don't occupy that country, but and send troops over there. But like other things, I'm not going to hold my breath on that. So.